part about this. The candidate of the middle class in the last two presidential elections, Barack Obama, under his presidency, according to the census data that just came out last week, the average middle class family in America, Senator Sanders, has lost $4,200 in income. I mean, that's a huge loss. What we're doing right now, Bill, isn't working for American
and they're the
families.
backbone of our economy.
Right.
When the economy is thriving, the middle class is thriving.
But here's what else is going on. You're right. Middle class is absolutely declining.
Right.
For young people, unemployment is atrociously high.
Right.
What we need is to create millions of jobs by, among other things, rebuilding our infrastructure, transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel, putting people back to work,
Senator,
rebuilding America.
What about?
You just said you want to create new infrastructure in this country,
Yes, that's
and
correct.
you want jobs,
Yes.
and yet you are one of the senators who is opposed to building the Keystone Pipeline, which is about 10,000 high-paying union jobs. There's not a single argument
let me deal with
against that.
What a
And you
small,
don't wanna-
what
Is
a
that an
small
argument
price to pay for everybody dying.
That's-
What a 10,000 jobs.
We're going to die if we build a Keystone Pipeline.
Well,
That's
yes,
what people said
actually,
about the
well,
Great
but
Alaska Pipeline.
you're not a scientist, are you?
I am not a scientist.
And not an economist either. But okay, you are an economist? Okay, but the Bush thing didn't turn out too good. Okay, but James Hansen, he is a scientist. He's NASA's scientist, not anymore. But he said if we build this pipeline, game over. Because you know. I know this pipeline, and by the way, if you want some information on this pipeline, it brings tar sands oil, the pipeline you're talking about, the dirtiest oil in the world to extract from Canada and Montana and North Dakota. And I just think we should be figuring out how to get off of fossil fuels as opposed to how we get our next fix.
We're not there yet, though. So until we're there, I think I'm with Steve here. I think this is actually something that we need to make happen. I think the more independent we can become on and not rely on folks abroad that aren't friendly to the U.S., I think that's a good thing.
Let me put it a different way. If you talked about
But is that
jobs,
the priority?
No.
You know, there is shit goes into the air.
Okay,
You
but
thought
Bill,
about that
But
part of it?
when you fly on a plane, when you drive in a car, we're always taking
Bill,
a risk.
What industry?
Whoa.
What industry? What industry?
That's true, too. I don't know what that has to do
Okay, tell me this.
with the risk.
I want to see if one of you
You're
two
right.
can answer this question.
I could fall off this chair. You know, I just took a risk, but what does that have to do with polluting?
Let me ask you this. What industry in America over the last 5 years do you think has created the most jobs in the United States? The oil and gas industry. We have an oil and gas boom going on all over this country. It's going on in North Dakota. It's going on in West Virginia. And by the way, what do you want to do? Kill all the birds with windmills? Because, you know, every form of energy has... We kill 100,000...
This is exactly what we deal with in the United States Congress, which is why it is a dysfunctional institution.
You don't want to build it because you don't have oil and gas.
You talked about 10,000 jobs. That is important. What Bill's point is much more important. I'm on the environmental committee. I'm on the energy committee. Leading scientists in the world tell us that if we don't radically change our carbon consumption by the end of this century, let me finish. By the end of this century, this planet is going to warm by 8 degrees Fahrenheit. That is going to be a disaster for this planet.
What nation of the industrialized countries over the last 3 years has reduced its carbon emissions the most?
Gee, the United States,
of America.
Because we're in the middle of a recession.
We have
no, because we're in the middle of a recession.
No, it's not. It's because we have converted to natural gas.
And natural gas is better than natural.
So why are you against natural gas?
First of all, I didn't say it was.
You said you don't. You want to. You don't want to use fossil fuels.
All right. Yeah.
You said you want to use fossil fuels.
I am sorry, but here's the story. If we do not move aggressively,
I'm going to CPI chain your hand.
Yes, that's good. Okay. If we do not aggressively move away from fossil fuel, this planet is in dire
But natural gas is a fossil fuel, and it doesn't even get carbon emissions.
Oh, please.
Excuse me?
Tiny amount.
Tiny amount? Oh,
gee, you are not a scientist.
No, you're not.
Are you?
Are you a scientist?
Talk about living in the bubble. Okay.